After school, I went into a monastery for 4.5 years, if you want to cover that.
For sure.
When did we start?
Huh? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, after finishing high school, I didn't have a... When I was in high school, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. When I was finished high school, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So, in the Ireland of the time, a default position was to go for religious life. Which I did with a great deal of misgiving. It was, okay, the school that I went to, they were Trappist monks, so you know, that was where I cast my lot. Yeah, and with a great deal of misgiving, and I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, okay. There was a friend of the family who gave me a present of £10, which was a lot of money then. It really was a lot of money. So I said to myself, Jesus, it would be awful to go in and pop out after a few months. So I decided, okay, least I can do is the decent thing, give it a year. And I don't think I was cynical about it, but okay, I gave it a year, and just about the end of the year I was diagnosed with what was it called? It was early stage tuberculosis. And what they did in Ireland at the time was you were confined to bed. So I spent a year in bed. In a sense, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I had to... You had to do something when you were in bed, so I became a fairly committed reader. And so anyhow, after the year, I continued, and I ended up spending 4.5 years in there. It was a tough life. After the first 2 years, you got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. After that, you got up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was tired all the time. We had a meatless diet, and you did not talk, except in clearly defined circumstances. If you wanted to communicate, you communicated with signs. And actually, you became quite competent, at least most people did, and I was probably, like the rest, pretty competent. You mightn't get all of the nuances that you get in a discussion, but people knew what you were trying to get across. But okay, I would say what I found difficult about it was tired all the time, waking up and you didn't want to get up. And then probably a lack of energy, because I suspect it was there was insufficient protein in the diet. But anyhow, I gave it my best, but I was getting sick all the time. Any time, a flu would come around, so anyhow, after 4.5 years, I decided, no, that's not it, and I left. So, after leaving, it was a question, what was I going to do? I thought I would like to do medicine, or law. But my father, he had other ideas. He said, if you do medicine, you'll have to emigrate. If you do law, he said, to do law, it needs to be in the family, which at the time in Ireland it was. Legal offices were passed from one generation to the other. So he told me, he said, I will finance you for accountancy or dentistry. So I thought about it and I decided, no, I don't want to be a dentist. So I took the default position of accountancy. And there were, in Ireland at the time, if you wanted to be a professional accountant, or at least the most prestigious professional group were the chartered accountants. It was 5 years if you were apprenticed to a qualified accountant. And when you were apprenticed, you didn't get paid. You might get £1 a week or something like that. At most, that would be it. I think most of the accounting firms, they had you in, they were, in theory, training you, and again, getting free help. But the alternative was to get a university degree and do 3 years after. So I decided I would go to university, and I went into the commerce faculty. You had accounting. We had economics. And we had what was called commercial law. And then you had a modern language. I took Spanish. A new person came into the economics department. He had got a PhD from Columbia here. He wasn't a particularly capable lecturer, and I would say he was probably just a fairly run-of-the-mill. He had a doctorate, but he probably was run-of-the-mill out of Columbia. But at least he knew what modern economics was. A year earlier, even though it was 20 years after Keynes had written his major book on what is it? Okay, money and employment. It had never been addressed at the university. So the man who came in from Columbia, he had it. So, and I didn't work all that hard at university, but I worked well. Actually, university, the course content was not that demanding. And during the term time, I would say I kept up with what was going on, but I bet I did less than 4 hours study a week. I'd go to the lectures, and 4 hour study was more than enough to keep up with things.